What's going on, everyone? How you doing today? I was today I have something special for you. First of all, I was wondering what to make this week. Earlier this week, I released a video. It's kind of crazy. It's like a mandala style video um, with some kind of mental imagery. Okay, so like called mental imagery or even mental visualization for sports. Um, And last night I was just kind of, I wanted to kind of give it a little more context to why I even did it in the first place. It's a standalone asset, but and I just chose the mandala effect. I made that just you know because you need some kind of video for YouTube. So I just chose to slap that on there too. I find it kind of interesting and maybe like a multi-sensory kind of thing. It almost kind of gives it like a mystic kind of vibe. But um, there's a lot of actual information with this style of training. Okay, and typically when we think training, we don't actually think this training the brain. Okay, but I've talked about it before. You can I've had it explained to me. Well, Faraz Sahabi uses this term, this style of this analogy a lot. Is like you have the pilot, the person who flies the plane, and you have the actual plane itself. That's the relationship for flight. Okay. And, the plane needs maintenance. The plane needs checkups. The plane needs rest. The plane needs, repairs, all these things. The pilot needs sleep as well. But you can train the pilot without having to even use the plane because there's simulations, there's different things that you can study, you can read about flying, you can practice simulations of flying, you can research different elements of it, you can plot out different flight paths, all these things. I'm not a pilot. I'm sure a pilot would have a lot more to fuel into this analogy. However, the concept of the plane not always needing to be present for the pilot to gain experience in the art of flying, it's the exact same thing for the body and the mind when it comes to martial arts, or probably anything actually. And you say, how can you get better at jiu-jitsu with just your mind? Well, first of all, you can watch instructionals. That's true. But you can also do a mental imagery. So I'm going to kind of show you mental imagery in sports psychology, how athletes use the mind to enhance performance. And that's literally what it is. So that's what we're going to kind of talk about today. And I'm making this because of my previous video that I've uploaded kind of without context, that kind of mandala style video. So let's get on it. And also I haven't made a presentation in a while. So this was kind of like a little fun, like, assignment for me to do. And I kind of liked doing it. I mean, I haven't used Google Slides in forever. So here we go. Let's zip into it. What is mental imagery? What is mental imagery? Now, mental imagery, mental visualization, there's a couple other terms like meditation or, it's a form of meditation, I think you could say. It's basically just a time where you use your brain and you vividly imagine imagery and scenarios and different things regarding your topic, aka your sport. Let's just keep it jiu-jitsu oriented for the sake of this channel. That's what mental imagery is. So you have all of those names, different names that can kind of also kind of apply to this, all right? And really what it is it's a form of rehearsal. You're basically rehearsing in your brain what your sport is, what you want to accomplish and achieve in your sport. Okay? And you're really battling or setting up the oh no, hold on one second. Darn it. You're not seeing any of this presentation here. Hold up. I got you. It's early. Restart. Why does this not work, man? This is the stuff that people love. They love my They love technical difficulties. People love it. Okay, so you're rehearsing your imagination versus reality. This is so important. The brain cannot tell what's the difference between imagination and reality. It actually can't. Both of those situations, reality and imagination, are processed by the same part of your brain, okay? And it has no sorting feature. It just realizes, hey, this is happening to me. And that's that. Here's the science, okay? The neuromuscular system, you're going to enhance your neuromuscular system. And also, we could write the word psycho neuromuscular enhancement, because it is the imagination. It is all in your brain, all imaginary. And really what this is have you ever, okay, this concept of, I'll describe it in a couple ways. You have this concept of deja vu that you've experienced, where I've been here before, I'm familiar with this. This is strange. It's almost like I've already kind of experienced this. This is true with this kind of imagination versus reality thing. You never know. Like, we don't even know about that deja vu stuff. That is wild. But what I'm kind of talking about more with this one, and how I think this is more important with sports, is this nightmare reflex. Have you ever had, I know you have, had the experience and the sensation of, while you're laying in bed, you're falling, or you're dreaming, you're kind of in that half awake, half asleep state, and you're dreaming and you fall, and your body snaps to catch yourself, to brace yourself. That was all imagination. That was all imagination, and your brain still perceived it as a threat, and it sent the body to into reflex mode. It sent the body to actually expend energy and save yourself as a preservation. There was no cliff ever, okay? So why can your brain do this? Your brain has total influence over your body. This is ridiculous here. This is ridiculous. I'm going to have to redo this. This is ridiculous. Okay, let's try this now. So your imagination can make it happen, all right? Your imagination can make it fire. Also, this will build precision, okay? So if you're imagining your sports psychology, your sports visualization, this neuromuscular enhancement will build precision of your actual movements, okay? So this is actually like fine-tuning and honing some of the fine, tiny movements that you're going to need through your muscles, okay? And it actually does strengthen the brain-to-muscle connection, and you can actually see, it's actually measurable, small muscle movements while you're thinking about doing something. If you just sat there and imagined doing something, this is kind of like the small side of this nightmare reflex that I've kind of talked about. But if you're just imagining yourself like playing tennis or something, or doing jiu-jitsu, shooting a double leg, okay, just imagining it really vividly, your brain, imagination, is actually still sending signals to your body. And it's operating these muscles on a very small level, and it's actually measurable. So it does strengthen that. The next thing we're going to talk about is the cognitive theory. Now, what does this even mean? All we have to do to think about this is it's extra practice, okay? This is kind of falls into the line of instructionals, but this is also very prevalent when it comes to mental imagery as well, okay? And all this means is technical reps. Like, if I imagine myself doing a double leg 30 times versus someone who's only done it in practice, then I'm going to have 30 more reps of shooting this double leg. That was just an example, but I think you can see how this would compound over the year. If you do this, if you train 2 times a week and that's all you do, and you're just happy with that schedule, but you have another person who's training 2 times a week, but also they are doing mental cognitive theory reps through their mental imagery every single day, okay, they're going to have they're going to have so many more reps of doing this. So let's say you practice 2 times a week. That is 104 sessions a year if you did not take a couple weeks off. Okay, we could even say 100 if you take a vacation, just to keep it realistic. You have 100 practice slots. Okay, if you practice twice a week. But if you do this mental imagery as well as practicing the same amount as the first athlete, and you still take vacation time and you're not at the gym, you're going to have plus 3, 6, 5, doing it daily. You are literally going to have 465 practices. 465 practices. That is 365 times more, or 365 practices more. That is over 4.5 times more the practice just by doing this in your brain. Who do you think is going to be better? They both trained the same amount of time. Who is going to be better? It's extremely easy. I'm 100% putting all my money on the person who's doing their mental imagery. Strategic reps, situations. It doesn't just end with technical reps in the step 1, step 2, step 3 kind of thing. This is also strategy. This is also finding yourself in bad situations. How do I get out of this? What would I do if this guy grabbed me here? You're questioning this stuff. And what this really does over time is it takes that buffering zone of like having to think about it in real life while you're in the moment. And it's something that you've already done. It's rehearsal. It's something that's already happened to you. So it's no big deal. You've been in this situation hundreds of times already, although you physically have not been. Last one, bioinformational development. It's just how we respond, okay? It's how we respond, our patterns of responding. This is just how we behave. This is a way that we can also kind of use this to leverage it into competition experience. Competition experience. Being familiar with the uncomfortable. Being uncomfortable with the uncomfortable, okay? If you use your mental imagery to kind of like build the nerves up, and then you face those nerves head on in your head when there's zero consequence, you actually will change the way you biologically respond to certain stimuli or stimulus, okay? So it's a great way to conquer anxiety and stress and perhaps fear of competition. It's rehearsal. It's just rehearsal. You know, the more times you're in a situation, the better you become at that situation, the better you become at dealing with those emotions in that situation. And you can do this all through mental imagery. All right? So here we go again. Perfect. Whoops. Stand by. Dude, I got to figure something out with this. This is my first time ever doing these presentations on here. Display capture. Is this going to work now? Jeez Louise. Okay, so we're just going to quickly talk about the different targets and types. Okay, first of all, you can target your mental imagery towards your motivational pump up and confidence. Like that can be your primary target of what you're trying to achieve. You can achieve, practicing, reps, rehearsal, all this stuff, dialing everything in. You can achieve emotional regulation, stress. We kind of touched on that with the bioinformational development. And we can also do it with healing and rehab. This is another thing that, when we're not in the gym, right? This is why this type of training, it's not made up. Like this is really good stuff. This type of training will really help you because you can stay very present. And even John Danaher, I was just reading Danaher Diaries the other day again, volume 2. You should check that out. I know I've mentioned it before, but he was talking about, he was out of the gym for a while with surgery or something, bad knee surgery, bad hip surgery. This was years ago. This wasn't the recent one. And he said he used to go against a guy who would usually smoke him all the time. And of course, Danaher's out of the gym. This guy's in the gym, still training, doing his usual thing. Danaher's out of the gym. He's doing mental work, just kind of thinking about moves and pondering and wondering and observing all this stuff. Time goes on. He comes back to the gym. Obviously, we think the person who hasn't been training is going to be worse, right? The person who has been training is going to be even better, and the other person's skills would have perished. Turns to find out, Danaher comes back and he actually starts submitting that guy. The guy who he couldn't even have submitted before he took his time off. He actually comes back and he starts submitting him many times in a round. And this doesn't even make sense to your brain. How did he do that? Well, it just shows that he stayed in it mentally. And even while he was kind of healing and rehabbing his physical body, his brain was kind of doing these three right here. And his body's doing this. But at the same time, you can also use your mental imagery to focus energy and sensation into your aching parts as well. So that's another level of it. Okay, here we go. You have to combine both of these here. There's two types here. You have internal when it comes to how you perceive yourself in these, okay? And you have to use them both. You have internal, this is first person, experiencing what you do through your own eyes, okay? And by doing this, you get to really be the pilot. You get to really feel the moves and see and grab, and you're really being technical, okay? Now, and yeah, this is the essence of you feeling it, the sensations. Okay, fun fact here, Grappling Industries, just because that's a tournament I've done, I know what their mats feel like. I know the tatami weave. I see the colors of their mats. They're orange and they're white. I feel that. I feel the red ankle sweatband that you put over your foot, over your ankle before you start the match. All of this stuff. You visualize shaking hands with the ref, shaking hands with your opponent, okay? You feel that, you vision that, and you see it first person. Plus, you do it with your practices and everything as well. The external, this scratches a different itch. The external is a third-person experience, okay? And this is where it gets a little tricky. You see yourself performing the movements out of body. You're watching yourself do it. You're really concentrating yourself doing it. And it's kind of like a trip because you're trying to literally remove yourself and view yourself, remote view yourself. Okay? And this benefits correct technique and posture, but I also think that this benefits confidence. I think this the most benefits confidence because you're actually witnessing yourself out there doing these moves, getting your hand raised. You're actually seeing it from the outside, almost as if it's already documented, almost as if it's like set in stone. Like this already happened. I watched it happen. And I think when you do that, your brain can't tell that is imagination, as we know, and it becomes actual reality. And your brain actually becomes like, it actually believes that you've already done this. And I think that really just makes it easier for you to achieve maybe something that seems stressful or like a huge obstacle. So that's why you have to combine both. You must combine both. Now, who does this for real? Okay. This is in the real world. People are doing this stuff all the time. Whoops. Yeah, what the heck, dude? This is like the worst experience. I think he's resetting on me. The real world. Here we go. Both of these people do it. Yuri and Khalil. They both do this. They're both into this, especially Yuri, especially Khalil. These two are both wild dudes, very mental dudes, okay? Sean Brady, he has a whole episode on Joe Rogan about doing this, okay? Whole episode about doing this. I think he works with a guy named Brian Kane. Israel Adesanya, you see him doing the exact same thing. You see him in pools and doing stuff and sitting at the bottom of pools and mentally imagining. This is huge stuff. I mean, Israel Adesanya is no joke, dude. I know he's not a champion now, but remember his reign, him coming up through, just demolishing people like GSP, double champ status. He does this as well. Did this. I'm sure he still does this. He's a martial artist at heart. And like this kind of stuff is like super martial artsy. Okay, it's the mind, it's the brain, it's the body, it's the spirit kind of getting after it. All right. So GSP, he was very known, and I think these two work with the same mental coach, Brian Cain. I know GSP definitely worked with Brian Cain, but I think Sean Brady did as well. Okay? Look at these two. These guys didn't work with Brian Cain. Who did Kobe work with? Kobe worked with some dude. I was reading his book, actually. It was a pretty good book. I didn't fully finish it yet. Let me pull you up. Oh, Tim Grover.
Let's move on.
Whoops.
Passion.
Copyright. Hold on. Tim Grover. Tim S. Grover. The book is called Relentless, From Good to Great to Unstoppable. Be a cleaner, by the way. That's a good book. If you like this kind of stuff, check that out. But Kobe worked with him, and this guy was just kind of saying how, relentless Kobe was, his mindset, his visualization. Same thing with Mike. Okay, and neither of these people will tell you they're anything special or they were anything special. I'm talking about born different. Okay, actually, there's a quote in this book, Mindset, by Carol Dweck. Okay, there's a quote in this book where Mike, when he returned to play basketball after playing baseball for a little bit, he was sad that people expected so much of him. He said he was sad. He was almost offended because he was saying, you're almost painting me as like a superhero character, which we do to our athletes. We do it to our athletes because that's a compelling storyline that humans love, is this divine, like, superhero athlete who is just better than everyone else. But this really bothered Michael because Michael, he took pride in a good way in all the work he had to do to get to where he was at and the skills he had to get to. So when people were saying, oh, he's going to come back, he's like Jesus in tennis shoes, all these other things, the best to ever do it, it actually made him sad. And there's a quote in this book of how he felt about that. So that's just an interesting perspective to kind of have on it, is there's these people they're not different than us. They just work hard and they spend time in the gym, like Kobe, notoriously, and also they spend time mentally working like these guys, and probably so many more. So why would the GOATs do it? Let me just ask yourself that. If you're still kind of on the fence, like, yeah, this is a bunch of wushu. If you've made it through 22 minutes and you're like, this is wushu, why would they do it? Okay? Why would they do it? If it's wushu, if it's a waste of time. Do you know how much money they get paid? Why would they do this? Why wouldn't they do something that had better results? Especially the basketball players. Why? Okay, common mistakes that you have. First of all, this is not a movie. We get, this Western world, we get so caught up in this Hollywood stuff, like these John Wick scenes. Like this is not a movie. This is practice, okay? It's imagination, but don't make it fantasy, okay? I hope you understand that, and I hope you can kind of get what that means, all right? No slow motion, okay? No cinematic shots. Like, keep it legit, keep it real, keep it believable, although it is in your head. And a lot of times people don't practice adversity enough, okay? This is not a perfect Cinderella story. Like, you're going to have some adversity. You're going to have some things that go wrong. And guess what? Prepare for it. Get yourself in bad spots mentally, like bad situations, because you'll practice getting out of them, and you'll practice keeping your composure under that stress, under that adversity. It won't be as new. It'll just be like, yeah, okay, whatever. And do this with very vivid location setting. Like, if you're going to Grappling Industries tournament, or you're going to compete some tournament, and you know what their place looks like, imagine what that place looks like. Imagine what it feels like being on that mat. Then experience the adversity. So if and when it will happen, you've already gotten some reps at it, okay? Perfect. No emotion. You need to have a little bit of emotion when you're doing this. You want to feel the stress. You want to feel the butterflies, okay? You want to feel the tingle. No schedule. People who do this once. This is another reason why it's not a movie. You don't just go watch the movie one time. People watch the movie one time. They say, well, that's a good movie. Read a review. Move on. When's the next one coming out? No, you have to watch this movie every day. You have to watch this imagery every day. Over and over and over and over again. Remember, we're trying to add practice to our yearly schedule. And too vaguely. Sometimes people will do this too vaguely, like, oh, I'm doing jiu-jitsu. Yeah, okay, I'm rolling. Yeah, you got my hand raised. No, that's not going to fly for me. You're going to have to go there. You're going to have to take your shoes off. You're going to have to set your water bottle down. You're going to have to stretch your neck. You're going to have to get onto the mat. You're going to have to put the red thing on your ankle. You're going to have to go out there, shake the ref's hand. You're going to have to shake the opponent's hand. You're going to have to slap and bump. You started your round. Okay, go. Good. Then you're going to have to do this. Start doing your takedown. Oh, crap. I got taken down. Here I go. Let's run out of it. Let's get out of this. Boom. I'm arm dragging. I'm stuffing the wrist down. I'm pulling it by me. I'm reaching for the back. He flats me back out. Crap. I shrimp out. I'm John Wayne sweeping over the leg. I'm getting on top. Good. Okay. Like this kind of stuff, like super meticulous. And not only am I speaking it, I normally wouldn't speak this, but I'm just speaking it for demonstration because you can't see what's going on in my head yet. But I'm doing this stuff mentally. Okay. Solution to those things, make or use a guided meditation. Hence the video I just made. Okay. So if you're going to make one, you're going to need to use a quiet space. You're going to need to do some breath work. You're going to want to record this. You're going to want to visualize your details, as I've kind of already discussed, but you can speak it out loud. So like, for example, if I'm recording this, I would say, I'd pull up my phone. I'd get my recording app. I'd say, okay, make sure you find yourself in a nice quiet space. And I'd give it a little bit of time, and I'd say, make sure you take deep inhale, hold for 3 seconds, hold for 6 seconds, and then exhale for 8 seconds. In for 6, hold for 2, out for 8. And I'd let the breathing work. I want to get that going. And then I'd start speaking the details and say, begin your match or something, rehearsing my success and my adversity all along the way. That is truly where the real serious gains are made. That is truly where the real serious gains are made. And then also, doing this 10 to 15 minutes on a regular schedule is going to be the most important part. That consistency, it doesn't matter when necessarily you fit it into your life, but doing it on a regular basis is the most important part. Okay? So it's the start that stops most people. Do the work. I just slapped this on there because this was me as a white belt, one stripe, very, very chunky, probably about 70 pounds heavier than I am now. Very hairy, long hair, and I had just been training for, this was probably in December of 2020. Now this is in September of 2025. I got my purple belt, different mindset, different hair, obviously, same beard, big smile, no smile. None of us are smiling here. We're all angry at the world. Okay? And mental imagery will make you angry. No, I'm just kidding. It's the start that stops most people. So just get it on and do it. Okay, get tougher in your brain. Get more experience. All I see is I see a younger dude who's kind of naive. He doesn't understand what's going on. Doesn't even know how to tie his belt probably. And then I see someone who has kind of has some experience, and you can expedite this experience by getting your mental imagery down. Okay, so no excuses. This is what you can do. You can use the video I added yesterday or whenever to the YouTube channel, or you can make your own. Just make sure you record it on your phone, you relax, you scan your entire body for relaxation. You can even walk yourself through it. You condition your confidence with affirmations. Remember, we're trying to target all 4 of those tights, all 4 of those things. Your affirmations, don't make them too positive or negative, obviously, but don't make them too positive. Don't be like, I'm the best in the world. I'm the best in the world. I'm the best in the world. That's just not where you want to go. You want to keep it neutral. You want to find truths. You want to find truths to affirm. Okay? An example of a truth to affirm, you could say, would be like, I trust in my training. I trust in my training. I trust in my training. I compete in the moment. Like, just hear the ones that I do. Okay? Sean Brady has some. You can learn them on the Joe Rogan podcast with Sean Brady. Okay? And make sure that you're using first person for past success and great moments, things that you've already seen. This is confidence building. This is skill building. This is timing building. And then also third person for success in adversity and be very, very vivid, and this will enhance your confidence, okay? So once again, you can find one online. If your sport is not about jiu-jitsu and you want to just find one online, go for it. You could also just do some other ones, but or you can make your own, okay? And listen, I would encourage you to listen to the one that I've done a few times, because this will kind of paint the picture for what you're kind of trying to accomplish, okay? And remember, make one for 5 minutes, make one for 10 minutes, but do it regularly, do it daily. Stack those practices up. The greats do it. The greats do it. Why do they do it? Try it out. I would say give it a good try. You can also do it before practice or after practice. Experiment with when you do it. I used to do it before practice to kind of prime myself for the practice. You know what I'm saying? I'd get my brain warmed up, dial in my focus before practice. But then I also do it every night before I go to bed as well. Okay? So as I'm laying in bed, when my body's tired and relaxed, I recall my things. So find what works for you. Give it a shot. But remember, it's the start to stop most people. So you better just get after it. Okay? Have a good one. Thanks.